Hey, hockey fans, welcome to Goal Line Hockey. And today we're going to talk about the Stanley Cup Final, the St. Louis Blues, and the Boston Bruins. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and to subscribe. Let's talk about the Stanley Cup Final for 2019. All right, so the Boston Bruins won the Prince of Wales Trophy, winning the Eastern Conference, sweeping the Carolina Hurricanes. And make sure to check out that video where we talked about the Carolina Hurricanes getting swept by the Big Bad Bruins. On the West Coast, the Clarence Campbell Trophy winning St. Louis Blues, winning the Western Conference, and defeating the San Jose Sharks in 6 games. So, let's talk about the Stanley Cup Final. So, for the matchups head to head, for forwards, this was probably the toughest time I've had so far these playoffs, trying to figure out who's favored with these, but I tried my best. So for forwards, I went with Boston, and the reason for that is we've seen how good St. Louis's depth has been, how Tarasenko has really turned it on this past round, and how good Ryan O'Reilly has been, Braden Shen, but I give the edge to the Bees just because of how good that top line is of Marchand, Bergeron, and Pasternak. Best first line in the NHL, in my opinion, and that's a tough matchup there for the Blues. Now, defense. This was even tougher for me. The defenses are so close. You look at the St. Louis Blues, who Alex Pietrangelo, Colton Parayko leading the way there. Charlie McAvoy and Zdeno Chara in Boston. So these were two really good defenses, but in terms of 1 to 6 for the top 3, I had to go with the St. Louis Blues. I like the depth a little bit more than Boston, but Boston has some really good depth. So we're talking about, this is a Stanley Cup Final. We're talking about the upper echelon of defensive cores, and both of these teams respectfully are at least in the top 5, if not top 4, top 3. Two really great hockey teams. So I have Boston with the forwards and St. Louis with the defense. And now goaltending. This was really tough, but based off of what we saw going back 2 rounds now, the St. Louis Blues, Jordan Binnington, seemed to be getting a little bit ticked off with that series against the Dallas Stars. They were in his face a lot, causing some problems. And I have the edge going to the Boston Bruins because of how good Tuukka has been for these Boston Bruins. Tuukka Rask, the guy that many people in Boston either loved or hated, a very polarizing figure there in Beantown. But I'm giving the edge to the Boston Bruins, Tuukka Rask, over Jordan Binnington. Binnington has been such a great story, but we've seen so far in these playoffs he has gotten rattled, and I feel like if you've got guys like Marchand and the bottom 6 in Binnington's face, I feel like Binnington might have a little bit more retaliatory, take some action against that. And I feel like Tuukka's been, he's been pretty far in the playoffs in the past. You can't go against the veteran here. So I am giving the edge to the Boston Bruins. So just to recap, forwards, Boston, defense, St. Louis, and goaltending, Boston. Okay, so now looking at the season series between the St. Louis Blues and the Boston Bruins. And because they're on the East and West Coast, they only play each other twice, 1 home, 1 away for each team. So Boston won the first game 5-2, and St. Louis got their redemption in the second game these teams played in a 2-1 victory in overtime. Okay, so the moment of truth. So the Stanley Cup Final, it's going to be a really good matchup, and this is going to be a really great series. As long as there isn't a 4 or 5 game series, I will be quite happy with how things turn out either way. And my prediction is the St. Louis Blues are going to be singing Gloria, raising the Stanley Cup in St. Louis in 6 games, in Game 6. So St. Louis will be winning this series in 6 games. I'm wearing a Boston jersey because I don't have my St. Louis in yet. I'll be doing an unboxing video very soon, but I did order a St. Louis jersey, so that will be in there. But until then, um, and you know what? I haven't had much good luck wearing the team that I'm rooting for and saying the prediction. I've had terrible luck with that, so I've decided to just change things up a little bit. So St. Louis in 6, and I mean the crazy thing with this series is these two teams. I guess Boston, you could say, was more likely to get this far, but looking at St. Louis, where they were in January, I remember, I think when I first started this channel, talking about the rumors of trading Parayko to the Leafs or Pietrangelo to the Leafs, or you know Tarasenko. Could Tarasenko be traded? Like, you look back now at just how crazy that is, but it was a real possibility in St. Louis, and here we are, the St. Louis Blues in the Stanley Cup Final. They defied the odds against the San Jose Sharks, who had some help from the referees along the way. Still a very great team, though, in San Jose. No disrespect to them. They had a great season. The Carolina Hurricanes losing to the Bees. So, really, a lot of these teams should be very proud. And now, this is it. We have a couple of days off before the Stanley Cup Final starts on Monday. And get a little break for the next couple of days for this weekend, Memorial Day weekend. And we'll be back at it on Monday. So thank you for watching us here at Goal Line Hockey. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up and to subscribe. And check out our other playoff predictions. I know they're a little bit outdated now, but it's kind of funny just to see how wrong I was for probably at least 85-90% of them. So, looking also at, when I first did this series, when I first talked about the St. Louis Blues against the Winnipeg Jets, just how the Winnipeg Jets were, if they could, I had Winnipeg winning that series, but I said if Winnipeg loses to the St. Louis Blues, St. Louis could go on a run. I remember saying that, and here we are. Maybe I didn't expect them to be in the Stanley Cup Final, but I don't doubt it. Looking back now, it makes sense. St. Louis has been the best team in hockey since January, so we'll see what happens, and have a good day.